Hi, I have in front of me a desktop monitor mounting arm. It supports TVs up to 29 inches. It's available with free delivery directly from freetv.ie, and it supports the VESA standard 75 by 75 or VESA 100 as well. So the idea of this particular device is it'll allow us to mount either a monitor or a TV on directly off a desktop, and it gives a lot of flexibility in terms of where to position it. So you could use it in an office environment, but also let's say in display areas, things like this, or for ease of people, let's say, who are using something like a table to mount a TV directly off of. Something like this can work quite well. This is the outer box it comes in, and it gives an idea of what it'll look like fully assembled here, so you can see it. And basically, what I'll give an overview is what we get inside the pack at this point. So we just have the user manual, which is here. We have a series of nuts and washers here, or bolts and washers. And the purpose of this, along with the Allen key, is it's actually used for bolting the faceplate bracket directly onto the back of a TV. And so effectively I would divide the bracket when it comes to in two pieces. The first piece is the actual what's going to bolt onto the bottom of the bench itself. So it's made up of this clamping mechanism and the bar here itself and a little bit of a static plastic covering. And then the actual part that bolts onto the TV and gives the flexibility and reach and arms on it, okay? Which is this bracket here. So what I'll do here is maybe just work backwards from the TV, which I'm just using for demonstration purposes here, and say that, let's talk about the VESA standard first of all. Well, when we say a VESA 100, what do we mean? We mean that the center hole distance in millimeters is 100 millimeters from here to here, from here to here, and the inner set of holes would actually be a VESA 75, okay? So a lot of small TVs, most go with a VESA 100, and if you actually look at the back of this TV that we have here, this is a 24 inch, we'll actually just see, we come along, and it matches it perfectly like this. And what we do then is we look at the size of the thread on this, and we pick up our bag of bolts and just see which bolt will actually match this. And each size that's there is a different thread size, but there's always 4 bolts. So if we mounted this directly onto the TV, what we could do next is we'd come along, and if we want to mount this onto the arm itself, we'll say currently it's 2 separate parts, but we'll say there's 2 holes here, and also there's 2 little ridges on this mechanism here. So we just line them up, slide it in, and we can use the Allen key to come along, and we can tighten in with that grubber screw, we can lock it into position onto the arm, okay? Then if we look at how we're going to mount this, what we'll see is that we have a lot of flexibility in the arm here. So what we can do again is using the Allen key, we can actually tighten this in a little bit, just so that it's, it gives the flexibility we need, but it's a certain level of rigidity because you don't move the TV or the monitor too easily. And just note on the bottom that there's a little cable tie mechanism here where you can just run the cable, let's say it's running directly to the TV itself. So if we come along and we go to mount this, what we'll do is we'll just loosen off this mechanism here. And what I can do is this pole that I'm going to mount it onto directly here, what we can do there is I can just slide this in here. And we just slide it there, and I can decide where along this mechanism we want to mount it. Okay, top, bottom, all the rest of it. We've a lot of scope there in terms of flexibility on it. So what I'd normally have done is we'd actually have mounted the bracket here into pre-assembled. So I'll just go through the mechanism here. So just say we're working with a very thin table. We'll use the top level here of the series of 3 holes, and if there is a thicker table, use the middle, or the very, very thick table on the bottom here. So I'm just going to go with the middle mechanism here. I'm just going to turn this over, and the exact purpose of it here will become more evident in a moment. What I'll do is I just screw this directly through. And I'll just get this Allen key here. It's actually a slightly larger one here. And we'll just screw this in a tiny bit here. So the overall assembly is very, very straightforward. So if you can imagine here, I want to mount this underneath the table here. What I would do is I would simply mount it there, and then I would tighten this by hand initially, and afterwards you could use something like a screwdriver to give a little bit of leverage there, and you could lock it into position. And then the next part of the assembly would be, obviously before you put it on the table, what we would want to do is we want to come along and we want to mount this pole directly onto it. And what we do there is we'd use the 3 screws here, countersunk screws and bolts, and what we do is we'd screw this on to mount the bar onto it, and we'd just slide down this aesthetic plastic cover onto the thing here to hide all of the screws, all the rest of it. And what we're left with then effectively afterwards is we're left with a mounting point which we could use for actually putting the other bracket onto. Okay, so you can see the overall assembly process of it is pretty straightforward on it. The reason that we've added this on is that we have a reasonably extensive range of TV brackets here on freetv.ie, and this is one that's a little bit niche, but having said that then we can see the practical applications of it, and the overall design and the price point that came in was very attractive. So we said, look, we'll just expand out our range by adding this one on. So I think it's a rather good product. It's part of a much wider range of TV brackets, etc. that can be found on the freetv.ie website.